been operating in the pizza industry since 1984. So my story actually began here in 1984 at my family restaurant, Baccio Pizza. From the beginning, we used a 90-year-old sourdough starter that we've been feeding every day since 1984 and using in all of our kitchens for all of our recipes. So now it is 130 years old, and it is one of the most unique sourdoughs in the world because it's never been refrigerated, and also because I was the first person in the world to win a pizza competition with a sourdough. And it was so unique that they actually made a documentary movie about it. So it actually was a part of a four-part or five-part documentary series on sourdoughs put on by the Sourdough Library in Belgium. So when I had been harassing these guys in Belgium about my sourdough because they heard about the Sourdough Library, and then when I won, I was the first one ever to win. So they actually flew out from Belgium, verified me and my sourdough, flew back, and they flew out again with a video crew, and they made this documentary movie about it. So I'll share that here in a little bit. We do our walkthrough around the restaurant. But since competing and winning, so in 2017, I did my very first Scuola Italiana Pizziolo class with Tony Gemiani. We hit it off and became really, really good friends. And then from there, he said I needed to compete in the same city we're at. And I went and competed, and I won my first competition. And besides that, my manager won the competition. So that's the big guy up there is mine, and then the 2017 second place is his. So mine was for non-traditional pizza, my girlfriend's a little vegetarian, and his was with a traditional pizza, second place, a pepperoni and onion pizza. So I went from being unknown, a little rural island outside of Seattle, Washington, to being the top-rated pizzeria in the United States overnight. And that's when I realized that competing was really the way to kind of go forward. By competing, I got in the news. And what you don't realize is once you're in the news, that's real. That's real to everyone. I had a very interesting way of opening my restaurant. Sourdough Willy's here is the 13th restaurant I've opened. I've been doing this my whole life, like I said, since 1984. In 2016, we bought the restaurant that was here. It was called Drifter's Tavern. It was a 30-year-old tavern that had carpet up the walls to here, 2 layers of it from the 70s, so it still smelled like cigarette smoke. And it had some of the best drug dealers in the county because all of them could come across from Seattle and come to this little dive restaurant and they could sell off everything. So it was really in bad shape. But it's a great location. I was taught 3 things growing up in the restaurant industry. And the most important points of any restaurant are location, location, location. And it had that. We had the ferry here. We have, being at the northernmost point in the peninsula before you go across. And it was also my home. This is where I was born and raised in this area. I always wanted to do something a little different on this side of the water as opposed to everything in Seattle. So it took me, in 2016 we bought this place, in 2018 we bought the building. It was a nightmare. Drug dealers everywhere, people screaming and yelling at me, because this was a pool hall on the side. This was 4 pool tables and dartboards. And they had 75 beers on tap. And they had 3 tables kids could sit at. So I shut down the pool table, got death threats. It was pretty bad. I was accused of gentrifying Kingston. It was pretty ridiculous. So I actually, unfortunately, in the middle of all that, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. I just said, screw you guys, I'm shutting down. So a year before COVID, I shut this place down to remodel it. I was very, very fortunate that I decided to start with the front of the restaurant before just starting the back of the restaurant. As long as this building's been in existence, it started as a grocery store, then it turned into a fish fry restaurant up front, and then a tavern in the back. So I remodeled the front thinking we could always start with takeout and do the dining room later. Well, a week before we were going to open up, COVID happened. Everything shut down. My other restaurant, That's Some Pizza, we lost 50% of our staff and 50% of our customers in one day. The second school shut down. So a week later, we opened this place. Luckily, we had the takeout side. A week after that, the local news came and they did an expose on me and my sourdough pizza, the different styles of pizza I was doing. We were bombarded. I couldn't. We were selling out every single day. Once again, news, being online like that, that's really, really important. So I got really known for my sourdough pizza, especially in the middle of the pandemic. Two things everyone wanted to do, pizza and sourdough. And it was great for me because then everyone realized how hard pizza and sourdough are. That's always the joke about Ooni ovens, right? Or at least with professionals. Because now everyone can burn their own pizza at home at 800 degrees. It's not easy to do. But for me, when I took this class and I became such good friends with Tony, I just really saw what he was doing. He has a saying, he respects the craft. I've come up with my own saying, it's elevate the industry. Because being my whole life working in these restaurants and just being seen as some pizza guy, some nobody, as everyone, I dropped out of high school, I did restaurants, everything. I was seen as a nothing. I was just some kid that couldn't make it in the world. Well, next thing you know, all these kids went away to college, got $200,000, $300,000 in debt, came back and started working for me again after they quit working for me. And then next thing you know, I'm on the news and they're not on the news. And for me, what Tony Temiani, Joe Carlucci that Niles was talking to earlier, all the members of the World Pizza Champion team did, is they made pizza cool for me as someone who had dedicated my life to it. That really meant a lot to me. And so with me, with elevating the industry, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to give everyone here pride in what they're doing, give them knowledge in what they're doing, and really show people that this isn't Domino's $5 pizza. What you guys make is something special, something unique, and that you should be proud of it. So I want to elevate the industry, and I'm doing it with you guys. So I've talked enough about me and other people silencing their phones. So I'd like to go around the room. We'll start with you, Nick, and I want everyone to tell us a story, and then tell me what you're looking for out of this class.
My name is Nick Stoli. I am one of those people who during COVID, found the hobby of pizza and was instantly hooked and kind of went down that path that a lot of people did. We got an Ooni oven and absolutely destroyed the first pizza that went in. But after that, it was something that was kind of hooked me. And every weekend was trying it again, trying to figure out the dough, figure out the oven. And finally got to a place where it's like, pay more for worse, And so the last couple of years, I've kind of been stagnating my job and getting kind of burned out on it. Looking for something, another direction to take, and kind of upgraded my home setup, and got some friends that are gotten really into it and actually want to hire me for a couple caterings this summer. So
very cool.
Part of taking this class for me was also, like you were saying, kind of respect the profession and it feels weird kind of coming out with a backyard cook, kind of like start catering and stuff. So part of it's a bit of confidence boost for me, just to get an extra, like, okay, I actually do know what I'm doing, because it is something that people will want to hopefully eat. So that's kind of why I'm here, and just hoping to really kind of get those skills dialed in and learn from all you who are actually in this industry and see where things take me.
Yeah, cool. I'm excited to help build your confidence with pizza and the science behind everything. All right, Idrift.
My story is similar to Nick's. I'll use like real language just from my experience. I kind of hate my job, and I needed an outlet a pathway to get out of it. And one day I heard my cousin and my grandpa talking, and they said, it would be great to own a pizzeria when you retire. And I was like, why do you have to wait till you retire? That sounds like a great plan. And so I started working at a pizzeria while working at a full-time job. Long story short, I was burning out too. Missed out on family time. And so I said, I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to keep learning how to make pizza. Fast forward later, I started a podcast so that I could learn more about pizza, and then I fell in love with that process. And so I've been in the media pizza side since 2020, and I've been continuing on. I still work the job that I don't like, but I got a mortgage and a baby, and one day we'll make pizza full time. Until then, I'm just going to keep grinding it out and learning from the best. I do mobile catering on the side to help the income, to continue learning the craft. So I do consider myself a pizza maker in the media side, think that's how I differentiate myself. But I really love just pizza in general. So I want to immerse myself as much as I can. So thank you for allowing me.
Absolutely. Well, then also, you kind of started getting into competition a little bit, haven't you?
I did my first one. Honestly, I went here December, and it was just like a concoction of inspiration from Will and Niles. I spoke to both of them, talked to Will about how he changed his business overnight. Niles was just like, you gotta do it, you gotta do it, you gotta do it. Similar to how Tony told Sourdough Willy to do it too. And I think from that point on, just magic happened. They announced the Ooni competition over at the Pizza Expo. I said, fuck it, let's do it. And I ended up winning first place.
Awesome.
Pizza division. So it's really cool.
At this year's?
Mm-hmm. It's their first ever Ooni competition there, and he won.
That is great.
Thank you.
And that's your first one.
It was my first competition.
And the competition was tough. Like,
Oh,
the,
sure.
like you saw the amount of beautiful pizzas that were coming out. It wasn't like
That place was packed this year.
it was. It would have been tough as a judge judging that competition. I'll just say that. Yeah.
Well, I already feel horrible for anyone that had to judge this cheese slice competition. Imagine trying 50 cheese slices.
Yeah, right.
That's what the fuck? Who does that? It just sounds like hell to me. I mean, I've had a hard enough time judging Neapolitan pizza at 7 in the morning, still drunk from the night before. And the worst part was every single one of them was burnt to crisp. Because on the thermostat it said it was 750. Well, the thermostats are never correct, so it's over at 1100 degrees.
Wow.
And these guys just throw it out there, and I'm just fucking still drunk. I'm just disappointed. And I said to Bill Oakley, he said, I don't think I can do this again, Bill. And he says, I'm still drunk. I'm trying not to vomit. I've had all this chocolate pizza. He's like, you dumbass, it's burnt, just disqualify it. It's like, no, why? So note to anyone here that judges, don't do it hungover and don't
eat burnt pizza.
Angel, let's hear your story.
How's it going? My name is Angel. I'm from LA. I ended up in the pizza industry pretty interestingly. It wasn't something that I thought I was going to set out to do. I've been in the industry as far as the restaurant since I was 21. I've managed a lot of different restaurants, from Mexican restaurants to Italian restaurants to like Mediterranean restaurants also. Pre-COVID, I was working as a sous chef at Joey's in Woodland Hills, and they were teaching me a lot of fine dining, and I got really good at it and had a lot of fun with it. When COVID happened, I want to say like a week or two before, there was a brewery called McLeod Hill Brewery and needed a manager for their pizza. So I figured I'd jump on an opportunity. I've been there before because I also organize and curate art shows and music shows, so they knew that I was kind of serious about what I do, so they took me on. And then when COVID happened, it was definitely a challenge because a lot of people just disappeared really quick. It was hard to find help. I knew nothing about making pizza. Way before that, I was making vegan food. I was making vegan breads. That's where I got good at making bread. I was making vegan bread using non-fats and different alternatives as far as butters and everything else.
You're not good at it, you're a fucking magician.
I mean, you make it happen. I mean, and in the beginning, I was taught different processes. I didn't fall in love with the science of it until I got into pizza, where I ended up taking a workshop with, because I mean, my first pizza was ugly looking. It was all long, it was nasty, it wasn't, I mean, the owner of the brewery was making fun of me. She was right next to me making pizza, and she was laughing because of the way my pizza looked. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm not ashamed about it, but this is my first time making pizza. It wasn't as easy as it looked. I would always watch the pizza show on YouTube and all this stuff, the munchies, the whites. And I would always get a lot of like inspiration, and I would see the pizza expo and I'd be like, wow, it'd be amazing to go one day and have fun. That looks like a lot of fun. I never thought that I'd be either competing or working with Shepherd's Grain. Shepherd's Grain was one of the flowers that Will Grant introduced as far as the kind of one of his workshops, I want to say 2020, 2021. And I fell in love with this whole story. I fell in love with the flour that he was using, so I ended up bringing the flour over to California. So I started using Shepherd's Grain out in California and brought it out there to a lot of the restaurants and using it now. I got into it, like I said. I ended up buying Tony G's Pizza Bible. That was one of the first books that I got into. I ended up getting into Nancy Silverton, direct Filipino techniques and all that good stuff. And then I picked up Ken Forkich's book too, and just started like reading it and getting into it. To where I guess I just started making better pizza. And I started competing. I went to a few competitions that I did. I got really good at making vegan pizzas, and that's what a lot of people came out to our restaurant for too. I ended up helping the owner open up a restaurant in Hyde Park where we make pasta and pizza. So it's like I got very well versed in, I'd say, the last 3 to 5 years of pizza. I want to 3 or 4 years. Because whatever the week before COVID hit, that's what I did. And then I started the competition. Like I said, other than that, I mean, I have a lot of fun with it. I enjoy it. I think it's definitely a passion now because when I speak about it, it's just naturally comes out. It's like I feel like I spit it out and people love it. So it's I guess the way I put it out there, people love it and they engage with that, and I guess they like it to a lot of different things. I do a lot of different catering right now. I left the restaurant, I want to say, managing the restaurant and being part of it in November. And then I joined into my own catering and stuff, so I can definitely be involved there. Like I said, I'm involved in a lot of organizing the curating events in LA. So getting my pizza involved in a lot of these different events and markets and stuff has been definitely easy. A lot of feedback as far as like shepherd's cream flour and your sourdough actually, because I took some one time over there.
Right on.
It's been a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It's a passion definitely. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to do it. I didn't set out to do so.
So are you running a pizza truck now, or?
Well, no, right now I got pretty much catering problems and all that stuff, but I'm working on getting a Baccio out there. I don't know what that is. It looks like a little tuk-tuk. It's a small one.
Oh,
And I put two
nice.
of the Gosling ovens in there.
Nice. Get those nice dome ones.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, and it's, I'm like, it's gonna be niche. It was gonna look cute, like they say. So I don't want to get like a full big old pizza truck because it's way too expensive.
Yeah.
It's a lot to try to put somewhere. And I seen those little ovens with the traders, but now you gotta buy a truck. And I think it's gonna part of the outfit. I have fun a lot of fun. I get into colleges, universities, and stuff, so it's something that I can definitely part of so much more.
It's always amazing in life how many people will hold themselves back from fears of making mistakes.
Yeah.
I've done it a lot of times. What I try to say is for every mistake, every 100 mistakes I make, I have one success. So having the courage to just say, I'm going to create this thing and do it, that's pretty awesome.
I've been fortunate enough to be able to create different teams in different industries. So it's like not just like me myself. It's like their strength of like the group effort of working together that kind of makes me, it gives me the chance to be like elevate myself while I'm right now. So
Absolutely.
I definitely enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, you've inspired me in a lot of different ways. And like Shepherd's Grade they've been great friends ever since I've met them. So,
Yeah, they're really amazing people.
definitely.
Awesome. Wow.
Well, let's put it down. I'm happy to be here.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
My name is Dan. I'm originally from New York. I am way new to this industry, but I am enjoying so much of it. I've been in the biotech industry for over 20 years. So we talk about fermentation, a lot of that stuff. I worked on so much of that equipment that I'm very familiar with how all of it works. Just recently, we're in the middle of opening Coast to Coast Pizza Company. There's one in Marathon right now, one in Fort Lauderdale, that Omar owns, and I'm opening in Orlando. Some of Omar's team have been to medical school in Chicago, and now we're going to obviously here this week at this one. We have our space. We are in the middle of renovations, and we are looking to open within the next month or two, depending on permitting, inspections, and contracts.
So you're about 6 months out.
I hope not.
I'm not even joking.
Let's hope not. As far as baking pizza, this is really my first introduction. I've been down in Marathon for about a month and a half, learning all about how to make the dough, how to roll the dough, making the pies, working with Anthony and Billy and all of them, and it's really been phenomenal to learn just how much of a craft this really is. I'm excited to be here and learn from the best and everybody else. Obviously, we've got a lot of experience, so if I'm picking your brain, please share everything you have. I am open to as much information as everybody can share.
Well, Coast to Coast was the first time I did a class away from my school here. I was filling in over in Chicago. It was actually a long trip for me because I helped open a restaurant in Salem, Massachusetts, and then the next week I taught a class over in Chicago. So the Coast to Coast boys were 5 of the students there. So they really, Anthony was the one that had a lot of pizza experience coming from Philly, I think it was, and then we really connected well. And all the guys, I love connecting with anyone who wants to make pizza. So we had a really good time. went over a lot of the theories. We had a few little issues, a few little hiccups. We had guys, my assistant there was giving us pasta flour instead of pizza flour and all kinds of crazy stuff. But it was fun to be able to work with them through issues and see how the real world kitchen works. And after they went back, they opened up, I think, like a month later.
Yes.
And then within a month of that, Dave Pontnoy came to his restaurant and said they were the best pizza in the Keys. So it really helped their business and helped support them, who they are, and what they were trying to conceive there. And so it's a lot of fun to see students do so well with it, because once again, I want to elevate the whole industry. I want everyone to be proud of what they're doing. So it's awesome you're part of that team. And you're part of that team also?
Yes. I've been associated with pizza for about 60 years now. Oh, but that was just eating it. That's a different thing. Isn't it?
Well, kinda. I eat a pizza every day, so.
Actually, I was happily retired for 14 years from Philip Morris Marlboro. And then my daughter and Dan came to me and said, we want to open up a pizza place, and we need help, particularly at the front end. But we all agree that we think everybody in the principal position should know everything about the restaurant. You never know who's not showing up. COVID hits after he leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we thought it would be good for me to also be certified in case I had to step in and help in the back. So my role is pretty much running in front of the house, Dan's going to be in the back of the house. But and someday I'll get back to that retirement thing.
We know they say how you make $1 million in a restaurant industry, right?
Right.
You start
Donate
with
a
2 and you
bit.
lose 1.
So we sold our house in St. Augustine, and 2 weeks ago we just moved down.
Oh wow, it's a whole move and everything.
Yeah, so we moved down about 2 weeks ago now. My wife is still home unpacking boxes.
So that's why he's getting certified. You didn't want to have that box.
I'm tired of this. We've been doing it for 4 weeks.
Well, that's awesome. Right on. Well, I really appreciate you all coming here. I guess a few things I didn't talk about in the beginning was that I'm the top sourdough competitive chef in the world. I have someone, actually a lot of people now are coming up behind me. Idrip, did you use sourdough in yours?
I followed. Yeah, I
You
did.
did use sourdough?
Did sourdough and I spiked it with a little bit of instant dry yeast too.
Love it. And then Niles is coming up on me also. And
Wait,
that's
sorry,
you-
I missed your. Would you say your name again? Because I love your
Gary
story.
Foster.
I just missed. I'm sorry.
Gary Foster.
Gary
And
Foster.
I forget that Niles snuck in over here because
All right.
we need to do the Niles' story also.
Yeah, it's nice to meet all you guys. Yeah, my name is Niles Peacock, and I love. One of the things I love about pizza is so many people I meet. We all got these really different and cool origin stories about how we got here. And mine was that I was a craft cocktail maker. I managed bars in New York City, Miami Beach, West Palm Beach, Aspen, Las Vegas. I mean, I'm all over, right? I developed ran bar programs for Michelin-starred chefs. I'm a certified level 2 sommelier and spirit specialist, and that was like everything. Wine and spirits and cocktails was my world. And in 2017, when pizza was not even on my radar, I was on TV locally here for being voted the best bartender in Seattle. That was the year that Wilt won Best Pizzeria in America. And so we didn't know each other then. In 2019, I was featured at James Beard Taste America Seattle for my cocktails, right before opening up a cocktail bar down in Seattle. And right after I did the James Beard Taste America, my architect informed me that there was no zoning permits for a tavern license, so I had to open up a family-friendly, full-service restaurant to get a liquor license to have my cocktail bar. So not knowing what to do, I had a tiny little kitchen that was the size of my bathrooms, and I'm buying used equipment from the Auntie Auntie's pretzel shop at the mall, because I knew I had to get a bunch of stuff to fit in this little space. I'm buying freezers, refrigerators, all that, and this wife of the couple said, she's like, you should buy our oven, and you can do pizzas, and you can have a pizza restaurant for your cocktail bar. And I was like, the oven with the pretzel on it, that little thing, it would fit on one of these tables. And she's like, you can totally make pizzas in that. And I was like, well, I gotta figure something out. So I bought a used electric oven they made pretzels with at the mall. I'm not making this up. So I started making pizzas. And then I bought Ken Forkich's book, Elements of Pizza. And so I didn't even have a chef. I had a kitchen guy that was gonna make small bites to go with my cocktails. But I figured, all we gotta do is figure out one of this guy's recipes that we can do, and we'll just make really good pizza to go with really good cocktails, you know? How hard could it be? I found out. And so I had no dough mixer. We opened up. We're making great pizza. We're doing this 24.
How are you making the dough without the?
Or making dough in the bus tub, so it's like 2 in the morning every night. We didn't have dough mixers, just making dough by hand. You know, you can appreciate what kind of work that my forearms are just jacked.
Freaking Popeye over here.
Yeah, seriously, really. And unfortunately, I lived in the building, so I'd make dough and just walk home and go to sleep. But that was my introduction to pizza. And then right after we opened, the pandemic hit, and I had to let all my staff go. So it's just me and my manager. And now I'm working in the kitchen. Well, I never worked in the kitchen before. And so I'm doing this. People come in, they're like, "This is the best pizza I've ever had in my life." I'm like, "You should get this guy's book because I'm a cocktail guy, right? Like that's my jam, right?" And so we have people driving from farther and farther away to get our pizza, and it's just this guy's recipe out of this book. And I fell in love with the process. I fell in love with working with dough and making pizza, and I decided I wanted to do that. And I had an opportunity to move my restaurant up to Edmonds during the pandemic, and I took it. And at that point, I decided I want to become a craft pizza chef now. I want to be where I'm at with wine and spirits and craft cocktails. I want to be that with pizza dough and pizzas. That's my goal. And so I moved the restaurant up. So like Will's a block from the ferry here. I'm about the same distance from the ferry, from this ferry. If you take the ferry across to Edmonds, that's my restaurant right there.
Oh, wow.
So we're neighbors, yeah.
What's the name of it?
So it's called Niles Peacock Kitchen and Bar.
Somebody's telling me about that.
Yeah, so I wanted to call it a bunch of other things. I had a bunch of cool names to call the place, and my general manager's like, he's like, "Just call it Niles Peacock." And I was like, "That just sounds so pretentious." And he's like, "Well, here's the thing. Everybody doesn't know who you are, but a lot of people do." And he's like, "You're on TV, you're in magazines for your cocktails." He's like, "It'll help us to use your name that people are familiar with and try to call it something no one's ever heard of." And I was like, "I don't know, man." I was resistant to that. And then my bar manager said, "Dude, it doesn't matter because nobody thinks Niles Peacock's a real person anyway." He's like, either they know you and it doesn't matter, or they don't know you, it doesn't matter because nobody is a real person anyway. So either way, you're good. And I was like, "Okay, fine, we'll call Niles." That's actually how we ended up calling it Niles Peacock. But
And you got a fun story about your name too.
yeah, well, so I was named after Miles Davis, who my father used to play with. My father was a double bass, stand-up bass jazz player. He used to play with Miles, but he said all his friends were naming their sons Miles. So to be different, he spelled my name Niles, and I was like, it bothered me when I was a kid, but I think I'm over it mostly now. But when I moved up here, that was when I decided I need world-class consulting. So I told my flour rep, because I was getting Shepherd's grain flour, I said, and I'm having an oven, a Marsal oven shipped out from Vermont, no more Betty Crocker Easy Bake, you know, it's like, I'm getting serious now. And I need to develop my own dough recipe. And so she's like, "Well, you should talk to Will Grant." And I was like, "I don't know who that is." And she said, "He's one of the top pizza chefs in the world. He's a master Pizziolo." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I called him up and I went to hire him as a consultant. And we became each other's consultants. So I ended up helping him with his bar program and training his bar staff, and he did the same thing with me with my staff, and that was how I got into doing that. And then for my birthday, which is New Year's Eve, he gives me his sourdough, and a few weeks after that, you know, I was already going to go to the first International Pizza Expo. For me, it was the first one, and he said to me, he's like, "You need to start competing." And I was like, "That sounds crazy." And he's like, "You make world-class pizza right now." He's like, and I told him, I was arguing, I said, I'm not an expert yet, I put in my 10,000 hours. And he said, "No, but you're an expert at your recipe." And he said, the crust that you make, your pizza, is actually world-class pizza. He said, "You can compete with this." And that just sounded crazy. But I called him up a couple days later, early in the morning, and I was like, "Dude, I'm kind of nervous right now." And he said, "Are you about to register for a pizza competition?" And I was like, "I am." I was online ready to register for the competition. And he's like, "Do it." And so I did. And so I'll never forget, I was so embarrassed. I walk into the competition and there's the officiating judge and there's all the prep stations over here with the chefs. They got chef coats on and patches from sponsors, and then there's hundreds of spectators sitting in the bleachers watching, and then here's me dragging an igloo cooler with no wheels on it. It's held together with black duct tape, and I gotta go buy everybody. I'm wearing sneakers and sweatpants and a t-shirt. I've never been here before, I don't know. So like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed, and I really gotta like look more professional next time I come to one of these things. Like, anyway, so I went in and I cooked and turned my pizza in. I didn't think about it, and it's a blind competition, so you don't know what happens. And then the following day, I went back to watch a pan pizza competition, and while I was there, I'm just in the bleachers watching the competition, and I hear Will start yelling across. He's like, "Niles, what are you doing?" He's like, "Get over here, you gotta see this." And I walk over and he shows me on the wall where there's the scores from all the competitors from the day before. Then I see my name in the number 1 slot for Northwestern United States. I got like a flash of panic. I was like, dude, you better take that down. They're gonna think I don't take this seriously. And he's like, I didn't put that up there. He's like, I'm so proud of you, man. He's like, this is what I was telling you. He's like, you're making world-class pizza. And I was like, that's a real thing? And he's like, yeah, it's a real thing. And I was like, well, wow. I was like, is that a big deal? And he's like, these are the top pizza chefs. He's like, yeah, it's a big deal. So that was my introduction. That was in 2022. 2023, so I won Best in the Region 2022. 2023, I won the Galvani Professional U.S. Pizza Cup for Best Pizza in America,
And that was down in Florida, right?
Yeah, that was down in Orlando. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they sent me to Italy to compete, where I actually came full circle and cooked with Will as a team, and Will and I are the top ranked pizza duo team for the United States. So it was really fun. And the funny thing that competition has done to me is I have this completely ridiculous expectation that I'm supposed to win when I go to a competition. And like, I'm competing against people that are such amazing chefs and so talented, putting out just amazing product. I know that it's crazy to think that, but in my mind, I'm like, I really want to win. And the saving grace is, win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter however I score. I learned so much from being in a competition, and I got that from Will. He told me, he's like, whatever happens, he's like, you're gonna learn more and you're gonna get better by competing, So, and it's great seeing others win, like, pushing people like, to see this guy win. I mean, I saw his pizza, it looked amazing. Like, I wasn't surprised, but it's just a great experience. So for me, I'm a perpetual student. I love doing this. It's a great experience, and I'm going to keep going down this road forever. So I'm here because I always want to learn, and I'm always going to have opportunity to learn more. And here I'm going to learn stuff that I haven't learned yet, even if it's material I've gone over. I know that for a fact. So anyway, I'm working on competition dough right now. What that means is being able to adapt to different humidity and heat scenarios and refrigeration or lack of refrigeration scenarios, because I only do sourdough. So that puts some constrictions on how my dough will perform, because all environments aren't going to be the same. So anyway, that's in a nutshell. Good to be here with you guys.
Yeah. So we got quite the class here, guys. We got a lot of people, and we all love pizza, right? So now what I want to do is I want to kind of show you guys and do a little walk through the restaurant. I've said to a few guys before, but to me, I can teach anyone how to make pizza. I want to show you guys how to be successful in having a business also. So just know that my phone number, I will always answer your calls, I will always answer your emails, even if it takes me a day or two, I will always be here to help you guys. I'm trying to elevate the industry. So we're going to be spending today and tomorrow here at Sourdough Willy's, and then Thursday we're going to be at That's a Some Pizza on Bainbridge Island, and then Friday we'll be back here for our test. Friday will be a little bit of a shorter day. You guys will have the opportunity of working at either of the restaurants if you'd like to stick around a little bit longer. The Escuela has hired me to work the NRA show, and that starts Saturday. So at 1 o'clock, I have to leave here, catch a plane, land in Chicago at midnight, then be up at 5 o'clock in the morning making pizzas for the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago.
The good news is you lose a couple hours of sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll sleep right then.
Have fun doing that.
Sleeping stuff is overrated.
And talking about being able to support your staff, I had the wonderful opportunity of having a regional manager for both my restaurants for the last year and 8 months. It came to my attention in Vegas that he wasn't quite the leader I thought he was. He decided when I had a dinner reservation at the top pizza restaurant, so Tony Giamiani's restaurant, for a pre-party before the show, the day before I took my whole team out to go to see Cirque du Soleil and a steak dinner. So I brought my whole team there, all 8 of us that I paid to take out there. My manager decided to take 3/4 of them and say, I'm going to walk around the restaurant, walked out the door, walked into a steakhouse, had a $700 meal without me, and decided to give a $200 tip and try to pawn it off on me. So at that point, I realized I couldn't trust him when I was with him, let alone not with him, and I do a lot of traveling for what I do. So I kind of looked into what he was doing. So I haven't had a day off for actually yesterday is a month. So that's just part of what we do here, guys. So you gotta love what you're doing, and I see all you guys are really passionate about it. Just know you have to do that.
You see, you better be laughing.
Yeah, well, I have an expression. I say I laugh a lot. Otherwise, I cry a lot. Because that's life sometimes, right? And then on top of that, because he was such a horrible manager and he mismanaged my whole crew, 5 days after I fired him, I found out about a walkout at this restaurant of 8 employees were going to walk off the job. But first it was because of him, then it was because I was going to be here all the time. So luckily, unluckily for him, one of my managers was on vacation, and this little jerk girl texted him saying, we're all going to walk off the job today. So he texted me saying, what the heck's going on? So I kind of brought her out in front of the whole restaurant, said, what's going on? Why would you do this to a guy on vacation with his family? Oh, just let him know we're all going to quit. I said, okay, good, you're quitting, let's leave. And as I walked her out the door, I gaslit her, and every single person she said was going to quit with her. I said, Maddie's saying she's leaving, guys. Are you going to join her? She said, you're going to quit too. I went down the line of every single person that said with her. Surprisingly enough, only 4 people left instead of all 8 because they realized they were going to be making any money anymore. So that's just part of the process. That's a part, you've got to really love what you do, and you've got to be prepared to do whatever it takes to make it work. It's not about me. It's not about the girl leaving. It's not about the chef. It's about the restaurant. It is a living, breathing organism. After 40 years of being in this business, you see that. You see anything you do now isn't for now. Everything you do now is for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. You're laying down the foundation for what and who you want to be. And just knowing that it's a child, it's a kid, you know. For 40 years, every Friday night, families come to my family business and they have family pizza night. So there's trust in that, and they know they can depend on you for that. So you got to make sure your hours, you're open. You say you're open till 8, you take orders till 8. You say you open at 2, you say you open at 6 a.m., you open then. Because people have to know they can depend on you. Because it's bigger than you and your restaurant. You're a part of a community. This is where people go to eat. In this day and age where, you know, everything's electronics, everything's online, people don't spend time together. The time they do spend together is eating. So it's your job to do the best job you can do to give them the best meal possible that they can enjoy together. And that's the memories they have is over your food. So that's a really big responsibility if you think that way. Not just for you, but your whole community. But I tell you one, once you prove to your community that you can be there for them every Friday night, they will be there every Friday night. So I'm going to be giving lots of, so we're going to be working in these books. If you go into these little backpacks or these little bags, we have our school books in there. We're going to go in a little bit, but a lot of what we're going to be doing is reading out these books and going out these theories they have here. The reason why we're doing this in restaurants, not a school, because there's theory and there's reality. And somehow you got to make them both mix together. But it's kind of like shitting in one hand and wishing in the other. See which one fills up first, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the idea of the theory and how you're going to make it into your reality. And just remember that everyone here has a different process of what they're going to do. I'm going to do my best to impart my process into you guys, but you're going to have to make it work for you. Kind of like Niles was talking about competing in different places with his dough. Wherever you guys go home with how you make your dough, it's going to be a little different than here, and it's going to be a little different from each other. Even the same people with the same recipe in the same shop can do things differently. So it's really important to have those standards you have to be dependable for your customers. I'm not a religious guy, but I do religious holidays for my restaurant. We're only closed, I think, 5 days a year. And I have a Bible in every one of my restaurants. And it's not a religious Bible, it's my recipe Bible. And that's what we go by, that's what we use. I don't like people going from memory. Even myself, the Bible is always open, we're into it. You need to have consistency for your team, consistency for your staff. You're always testing and training not only your staff, but your customers. But mainly your staff, you want to train them to be the best they can, and you want them to win every time they take a test with you, right? To do that, you need to make things easy on them. You make that process consistent. I was raised that, you want to make a McDonald's cheeseburger. Not the fact you want to make a shitty cheeseburger, but you want to make that same shitty cheeseburger wherever you go in the world. It's that consistency that people look for. You know what to expect out of a number 2, right? Or even when they change the number 2 to the number 8 and back again, right? Because that's what we knew and that's what we expected. And it's important that you guys give that to your customer base. Because I'm the face of this business, I'm the story of the business. That's why I did Sourdough Willy's. It wasn't about me, it was about the story. Because people connect to stories. And the biggest job you have as a restaurateur is these seats. butts in these seats. People talk about all different expenses. The most expensive thing you have is an empty seat in your restaurant. It's your job, your duty as leaders of your business to keep these seats full. It starts by consistency with your product, making it easy for your customer, for your staff to succeed, and being there for your customers. Because the reality is those customers are your bosses. Even though it's one pizza at a time, they're paying your bills. They're paying the employees' bills. They're paying everything. And another thing to think about also is, this isn't just you guys. This is all your employees that work for you. This is all the people that depend on them. So even if you have a pizzeria of 5 people, you still got 25 people depending on you and the decisions you make. So it's really good you guys are coming here to get some confidence behind what you're doing. At least you can know that part of it, right? The other side, the social aspect, the marketing aspect is really, really important too. Getting your name out there, sharing your story is what's really, really important. So before we get in the book, I want to walk around the restaurant with you guys a little bit. We can go behind all together, but I just want to walk around and kind of show you the different equipment we have here and the different sides of the restaurant we have as well. As much as it can be easier and quicker for them to put through the process and give our customers something to eat, something to drink, the better it is. Especially this location. We're trying to turn a table every 45 minutes. As much as this is fine dining, this is people waiting for a ferry boat to go. So they're in, they're out quick, right? So the way we can batch alcohol easier, anything we can be more efficient, is the better we can be to make a bigger sale. The beautiful thing about pizza is no matter how expensive it is, it's still affordable. So if you give someone a really nice atmosphere like this, where they feel they're in a really fancy restaurant, which they are, right? And they can feed 5 people for $40, that's still a really, really good deal. And it gives them plenty of time and plenty of money to buy $16 and $17 drinks, 2 each. So they double their own bill with their drinks because they can afford the pizza and have the nice ambiance of, like here, we're lucky you can see today Mount Rainier's out, and around the edge, sometimes you can see the Space Needle poking its head through the trees and stuff like that too. So once again, location, 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 right? So over here we have 2 different ovens. Actually, we have 3 ovens. This is a, you can see it's already at 300 degrees from keeping it up. Your foot there, you don't want to melt your shoe. So this is a Neapolitan dome oven. And it looks like there's just a chimney coming out of this top. I remember seeing that at first, like, wow, they just let the smoke right out? No. Chimney's actually right here if you look in there. In a second, here's and that's ignition going on this. So Neapolitan style pizza. Does anyone here need to know about Neapolitan style pizza? Want to know about Neapolitan pizza?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you right now, don't do it.
Okay.
It's an absolute nightmare. Americans don't have the palate for it. It's a very European thing. Even going to Tony's class, don't do it, he did. Don't do it, don't do it. I got this Neapolitan oven. Guess what I do with it? I do artisanal style now. I don't do Neapolitan styles. Training people to do Neapolitan pizza is an absolute nightmare. You literally have 90 seconds to cook your pizza. So you have to find out how to load your pizza on the peel, then how to land it in the oven, then immediately turn it every 10 seconds for 90 seconds, and have it be in the exact same spot, because if you're off that spot where it was cooled, it burns completely.
So what happens in 95 seconds?
Oh, you got a little flambe going on.
I noticed that people are changing their Neapolitan to like wood-fired or artisanal.
Artisanal, yeah, exactly.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm seeing that shift. It's ridiculous, but
Yeah.
it makes sense.
It's easier to make, and the reality is when people see pizza, they don't think Italy, right? They think crispy, thin crust
Yes.
pizza. That's what your customer wants. And there's a lot of things, once again, theory and reality. The theory, we want to do true Neapolitan style pizza. We want to be the real deal. The reality is the customer doesn't give a shit, and they want something that tastes good. And it's really hard to pull off something that tastes good with that style of pizza. So the science behind these ovens is really, really fun. So Neapolitan pizza came from the need to be able to use ovens when they were heating up. Because we're talking a few hundred years ago when there was no way to, so you had communal ovens, right? Before we had ovens in every house, before we had refrigerators, you would have a communal oven in your community. And then the idea of it was we have to wait, and we have to make our bread, like, start this fire, get the oven up to heat, and then let it cool to where you need to do it, right? Where you need to cook with. What am I going to do until then? Well, they had to figure out a way to make some kind of food until then. That's where Napolitano style pizza, that's where pizza really came from, was the necessity of making something in that hot of an oven. So that's why true Neapolitan pizza today is done with Italian flour, mozzarella di bufalo, and then San Marzano tomatoes. And then basil, right? They're very stringent on 5 different types of pizza that are true Napolitano style pizzas. A lot of it's kind of horseshit. For as many Napolitano style restaurants as there is in the world that are certified Napolitano, there's not. So San Marzano tomato has to be grown in the base of Mount Vesuvius. It's very acidic. It's a specific area where they're grown. For as many pizzerias as there isn't that many tomatoes.
Sure.
So it's kind of like the mob was involved with Parmesan cheese for a while. A lot of it was actually cedar dust, right, from mills. Well, it's the same idea with these San Marzano tomatoes. None of them aren't real. But boy, they like charging a lot of money for them. So when you're a chef and you think about the best chefs in the world, you don't see someone saying, I buy my tomatoes from Switzerland, I take my flour from Africa, right? You talk about being local. You have the best chefs in the world. They use what's next to them, what's available to them. That's why I pick shepherd's grain flour for a lot of what I do. And when I do import flour, it's all Cinque Stagiano for me. Mainly because they sponsor my school, but also because it's a really good flour. It's actually the top Italian flour in Italy.
What's the name of the flour?
And Cinque Stagiano, the 5 seasons, because there used to, we all know about the 4 seasons, but back in the day when there wasn't refrigeration, when it was all farming by hand, there was a 5th season, and that was actually the season when you would actually pull all your crops, when you would have to actually harvest your crops.
Season.
That was the harvest season, yeah, exactly. So there's a 5 seasons. It's always a big joke. A lot of pizziolos in the United States, they think you can't be real Italian pizza unless you use Caputo flour. Well, Caputo flour is the top Italian flour in America, not Italy. So most Italians use Cinque Stagiano, and then most Americans use Caputo. So it's all about marketing. Marketing is everything, right? When you're coming back to how do you market your restaurant and stuff.
So now, is this the only oven you have?
Oh no. At this location we have 4 ovens.
Okay.
At the other location we have 4 ovens also. So I do something a little different here that I recommend everyone kind of does. Is I have not as many as me, it's going to be a little challenge, but I do 6 styles of pizza, and I'm going to be adding a 7th here pretty soon. So definitely doing more than 1 style of pizza is a really great way to give people the opportunity to get more from you, but at the same time, if you're using this right kind of dough, you can use 1 dough for several different styles.
So being from Florida, not from Florida, from New York, but on the East Coast, we have a new place that opened up, Sal's, is what I'm thinking of. And they've got this baby and traditional right next door.
Mhm.
Have we ever seen them use?
No.
Did this the cook pizza? Because
It's
everybody
family.
wants that New York pie,
Yep,
being from the East Coast, you know, and you talk about the Italian reference. And
exactly.
so, I mean, this is not a big deal. It's a good showpiece. He's got beautiful red tile
And that's,
on it
this
and
has
all
got my name on it.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
right? And people want that thin crust pizza, that thin crust crispy pizza. That's why I use this oven for that. That's why I changed my recipe. I just end up using one of my other dough recipes for it, as opposed to making my own Neapolitan pizza that I'm already using on 3 other styles of pizza. So I was able to use 1 dough for several different styles of pizza.
So you mentioned about the burning in there, because it's hard pressed to go to a place that features this kind of pizza
Absolutely.
without getting it burnt on the top.
Exactly. Well, that's
Particularly the
actually
top
part
of
of it. It
the
needs to be burnt.
Yeah.
When you're cooking something at 1,000 degrees from cold or even at room temperature, it's gonna burn. So what they call it leoparding. It's a blistering around the edge of
Right.
it. And so you're looking for a leoparded pizza. So when I see people say, oh, we have Neapolitan style pizza and it's a brown crust, I say, the fuck you do. Because you ain't cooking at 1,000 degrees
Yeah.
and getting a brown crust. It's just, it's unrealistic, right?
Yeah, right.
It's the science behind it. So
So I was going to ask you, is it a lack of spinning that's causing that? And you're
it's a lack of heat.
Yeah.
It's lack of heat. So also in Neapolitan pizza, you have to have this specific flour, specific tomatoes, specific cheese. You also have this specific temperature. It can't be under 850 degrees. It's 850 to 1,000 degrees is what you're cooking at.
Wow.
And it is an art. There's no doubt about it. But an art worth investing in as Americans, I don't really think so. So the science behind this oven's kind of fun. So you'll notice I'm not using wood in here. And I don't use wood because I don't like spiders. Spiders love the Pacific Northwest. And on top of that, we don't get the right kind of wood around here. You want a really thick, hard oak, something very dense wood that can really get up to temperature. In Washington State, we get apple trees and we get pear trees. We have, cedar and stuff. You don't want cedar in this. There's too much sap. Yeah, it's a lot of fizzling everywhere. It will ruin your stone.
When you changed your recipe to the artisanal style, did you find that it made for a better takeout pizza, or would you still recommend that people only eat it in-house?
It's hard that way. I have a few different pizzas like that, right? Especially I'm going into tavern style here really quickly. I use 8 ounces for a 16-inch pizza. It cools off really, really quick. But the reality is I say that. I say, it's artisanal, definitely for sure, because I don't even cut them. I make people cut them themselves, even with the Neapolitan style, because it keeps the heat longer. Once you cut these pizzas apart, you lose all that mass together and the heat in there. So I would just have them uncut. So we'd have people complain all the time, my pizza's not cut, my pizza's not cut. Well, you see on the menu, I say don't do takeout. I don't recommend it. But when I changed the dough recipe, when you do a Neapolitan style pizza, you can't use sugar in it because you're cooking so hot. Sugar or diacetyl malts and that kind of stuff, that's a browning agent. At 1,000 degrees, you don't need a browning agent. It's doing fine, right? It's even without sugar, it's giving those spots like that. And also, you don't use oil in it. You don't need a conditioner with the oil. So it's a very different recipe. It's a very bland recipe, to be honest. So when you change to artisanal, and I'm just using the same pan dough that I'm using on my Detroits, my Sicilians, my Pella Romanas, and now I use it on my artisanal. So I'm using one dough and I'm folding it 5 different ways, because we also do baguettes with the same dough. So I have one dough to make 5 different styles of pizza, just the different ways you're manipulating the doughs. And the customers have no idea, but there's a lot more to the pizza than just the dough. I use the sourdough and I use a long fermentation process. The differences in those pizzas are how you prepare the pizzas. The Detroit style has the caramelized white cheddar cheese crust. Sicilian's just more of a thicker Bronx kind of style pizza. New York, and then the Palla Romana was basically an airy focaccia that you load from a palla, which is paddle. And then we have the artisanal, which we're just cooking at 600 degrees here, which you could do a New York pizza at. So we're just, the biggest thing about that dough that I use is I do an 80% hydration dough. Now we'll be getting into hydrations here in a minute, but most pizzerias do anywhere from 50 to 60% hydration. Growing up, my family always did 55% hydration dough. When I did this class for the first time, I realized that 55% hydration dough is the same hydration that you cook bagels at. So I was making bagel pizza basically. And a lot goes through the idea and the uneducation thinking that the less water, the crispier it's going to be, when it's actually the opposite. The science behind baking is evaporating water. So if you add more volume to something, more elasticity with water, and then you evaporate that extra water, you're actually making a much crispier product. So by changing from 55% to 65% hydration of my doughs, I made a much crispier, much more palatable dough that was just really, really great. And then you jump it even further to 80% hydration like we're doing. That for our pan dough, my mom has a fun way. Guys, like I go to Arizona, no one knows what I mean. I think everyone's here from a coastal area. She says it's like working with seafoam.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona's just like, what do you mean? What's seafoam, right? But it's just big fluff. And we'll be making that salad pizza. So a big part of what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be making some sourdoughs to show you that. But every day we're going to be making our New York dough and our pan dough. So our low hydration dough and our high hydration dough. I want you guys to know what it's like to pick up a 50-pound bag of flour, how to put it in a mixer, what to look for in different mixers, because at the other location we have a planetary mixer and we have a spiral mixer. So it's really hands-on and really for you guys to learn the difference and really the ins and outs of what we're doing here.
So when you ended up changing the hydration to your dough, did you have to change the temperature of your oven at the same time, or did you still use the same temperature?
I always use the same temperature, always same temperature, right? Whenever you're changing any recipe, you got to keep consistency. You can't change more than one thing at a time. You write it down, you do one thing, you see how it does, then you can do something else. And a lot of the times, I'll even bring it back down to the original and go back. Because sometimes I was helping Brett, was it Brad with Izzy's Pizza Bus?
Yeah, Brett.
He was dealing with some issues where his pan pizza was ballooning in the middle, and he had changed his recipe all these different ways to some Frankenstein from what he was before. I said, no, stop. Go back to the beginning. Change one little thing and go back again. And he was using too hot of water. So once he realized it was the temperature of his water, he changed his recipe. He was pulling his hair out. He was posting shit everywhere because he was a mobile truck. He had the pizza bus. It was a really cool concept. He was on guys, diners, and drive-ins. But he's going into doing, actually, he just opened up, I think yesterday, the day before, his first real brick and mortar restaurant. And he was he moved from Vegas to, was it in Ohio now or something like
Nebraska?
that? Nebraska, yeah. So the changes in humidity and everything there, he had to change his recipe because once again we come back to the dough's going to be different everywhere, especially when you think of sourdough being alive. It's a living thing. It's going to change not only where you take it, but the temperature outside. The dough we're going to make today in this weather is going to be completely different on a rainy day with the humidity out there also. And it just, even the same day, the dough we make first thing in the morning will be a lot different than the dough we make later in the day because the kitchen's hotter, the mixer's hotter, the whole ambient temperature's hotter.
We had an AC unit issue, and the dough that evening it was too warm. It's too warm.
So I'm going to go through the science of this oven real quick. So the whole idea of this oven is it's a dome, so it spins the heat inside of it. So the heat rotates through it a few times before escaping through the chimney. A chimney, like I said, looks like it comes out the top, but the reality is the chimney goes along the front and back out the top there. So it actually heats, so it spins twice, goes out and heats it again like a convection oven. So you'll notice a lot of times when people are playing with their pizzas, so you load a pizza with a landing panel, and then you turn a pizza with a turning peel. So you'll notice a lot of time at the very end of a pizza, they roll around and they put it up at the top. That's because the hottest point in the oven is right there. It's whenever you have a gas assist like this, one thing I'll tell you guys is you always land your pizza the furthest you can away from that flame. That's gonna be the coldest spot in the oven. And then from there, however you need to manipulate, you can. You'll have a lot more leeway with it, a lot more play with it.
But cold is like what, 700 instead of 800?
Exactly, yeah. Well, here it's going to be, 550 compared to 600, or even maybe a little bit under there, right? Because if you guys all look in there, you can see right there, right above my peel right there, that's the thermostat.
Okay.
Is that on the floor?
Right. Yeah.
No. You'll look at the flame over there. Do you notice, is that on the floor? It's a little hole. It's not really on the floor there.
Yeah.
So, biggest deal you have with competitions is these are the main kind of ovens you use. Well, the big issue you get, I want everyone to kind of look at that thermostat there and see where the flame's at. It's really, really important.
To the right of the flame.
So, the flame's away from it's not on the floor, and it's away from the thermostat. So the temperature that this oven really is not what this says it is. That's where we came back to my fun judging story, right? These guys, it said 750, it was 1,000 degrees. No, it needs to be 1,000. I have to be true to Neapolitan.
Yeah, right.
It's destroyed, and that's when I did a competition, I was lucky enough to be chosen to represent the United States at a world championship in Porto, Portugal. They had a tinier version of this. We have Anthony Storito. I mean, these amazing pizza chefs known throughout the world are our judges there. And it was cooking too hot. I saw the temp, it was way too hot. So I had to turn off the oven, no lights, this giant auditorium. I had to drop my pizza in the dark, spin it with the oven off, and pull it out. And once everyone else saw me do that, everyone else started doing it also, because that's the only way to cool off these ovens. So being able to be adaptable, not only in a restaurant, but when you're competing like that, it's taught me a lot, When you're competing, you're in a giant, it's not a warm kitchen like this. It's a giant auditorium. There's no heat there. So usually I like to bring up my pizza an hour to 2 hours before we use it, or my dough. In the auditorium, I have to do it 6 to 8 hours beforehand just to get it up to temperature, because it's a giant cold Coliseum. There's no heat in there, right? So it's always about being adaptable. So this is a Neapolitan dome style pizza oven. We can spend a day on it, maybe Friday a little bit. We can do so. We'll put it up to 1,000 degrees and kind of show you guys what it takes to do these pizzas. It is fun, but it's, I think, the reality of what you guys want to do and need to do. I don't think it's really that necessary, but I'm here for you guys and what you guys want.
How long does it take to get up the temperature to 1,000 from
So
what I'm telling you?
we're almost at 500 degrees. We're at what, maybe 20 minutes now?
Yeah,
so.
we started at 300.
Oh, it was okay.
But that was at 600. It's a lot different when I'll set this to 850 is what we'll set it at. It will be cooking about 925 is usually what we'll be at. So it takes about 5 or 6 hours. And like, so these ovens have to be cured. When you first start them, the very first time you get them, you turn it to 100 degrees for 3 hours, then 200, then 300. Every 2 or 3 hours, you slowly take it up. Because it's just like the concrete guys always guarantee, it will crack and it will destabilize. That's the two guarantees you get out of concrete, right? The same thing will happen here when it's that hot. So you have to really be careful with that kind of oven.
So you have to go through that process every morning? Or
Nope, just the very
the
first time you use it. But definitely having a door on it and making sure that it stays warm really makes a big, big
I was
difference.
gonna say, so that door kept it down to 3, just
Yeah.
from turning it off, kept it at 300 overnight?
Well, think about the whole concept of these ovens too, right? They would have to load these ovens back in the day to get them to temperature, and then from there they would follow what hour after you put out the fire when they can cook breads in there. That's why pizza came from, right? Was we're fucking hungry. I don't want to wait 6 hours for a loaf of bread. That's bullshit. Let's eat something now, right?
Right, yeah.
And so that's where it came from. It's always out of necessity. And you think a lot about a lot of these theories with pre-ferments and stuff like that. And we talk about Polish and Biga, La Vita Madre, Lavan, all different names for pre-ferment, sourdough, right? These weren't invented because we like a different characteristic or profile and flavor of nuttiness. It was because they lived in a certain environment and they had flatbreads. And the only way they could leaven their breads was by using these pre-ferments with them. So this wasn't like now it's like, oh, I like doing a levain. I like you doing a Polish. I like doing Biga. They didn't have the choice. It was, oh, it's this hot out. This is how quickly it rises. How do I make that work for me in my kitchen? And that's really how when I got back in, my family's been doing sourdough for 40 years. We had gone away from our original recipe. We were doing a pat fresh method. Does anyone know what the pat fresh method is? It's old dough. So you take the old dough and you put it in the dough, your next batch. So we'd use 8 to 12 dough balls for the last batch in the new batch. We always had our starter, but we weren't used that way. Because when I was a kid, we had this 30-gallon jug of sourdough starter that we'd sit around. And that's where we'd scoop from. We'd stir it with our arms, right? Health department, I don't think they like that too much. The first time that I actually used it, what was that?
Would that be considered mother dough?
It's a sourdough, yeah. It's a levain. They're all the same thing. Nowadays, they have different names. They say it's because of the amount of water. So when I talk about a biga, a Polish, a levain, sourdough starter, I'm talking to you about the different amount of waters in the dough. Nowadays, people like Tony, he calls his a tiga. It's a mix between a Polish and a biga. The day before, he adds a little bit of yeast to flour and water, and it rises to the consistency he wants, and then he uses it. My difference is, I just add that water and no commercial yeast. I don't use any commercial yeast in my sourdough starter. I use it in my final dough, but not in my starter. Because once again, the final dough is that cheeseburger we're trying to give to everyone. The sourdough starter is a very pure thing, and it doesn't need it, right? I mean, people worry about, oh, is this going to be alive? And we'll show you today, we're going to make a levain, we're going to make a Polish, we're going to make a biga. I'm going to show you guys the difference of what it means and at what times of the day and how the fermentation process works. It's really a lot of fun.
So do you ever omit the yeast on your original recipe?
It's sometimes. I mean, it really depends. Most of the time I don't. If someone wants a true sourdough, no commercial starter, but there's something behind that also. So there are no laws about sourdough, right? Not in our country at least. In France there is. So you go to this grocery store and you buy sourdough bread. Most of it's not really sourdough. They'll have 15 different ingredients. True sourdough is water, salt, and flour. That's it. That's true sourdough. Sometimes a little bit of sugar, baking agent like that. That's true sourdough. But there's no real true definition of what sourdough is. So what I go by is by French law. Because as much as I love the Italians, I love the bread, the French make the best bread. They've been doing it for years. These kind of ovens are fantastic. When I was a kid, we had something called a Lang air door oven. A Lang air door oven is basically like walking into Costco. You guys all have been in Costco. You've seen those air doors they have, the fans?
Yeah.
So at the front was a fan that would blow down air, and we just had these sliding doors there. That's what the heat was in the oven. So Summer was freaking miserable in this little pizzeria. Absolutely miserable. Winters were great.
Yeah.
So, but there's no real regulation. You just, you hope the thermostat was correct. Once again, thermostats aren't always right. You always have to be really careful of that. You have employees that like moving things around. Oh, I think it cooks better this way. Well, next thing you know, it's not cooking right. These ovens are really beautiful. So on this, you'll see two things. You'll see 7, 6, set point, and temperature. So see, that's top, that says deck. And so what we're doing here is, this is the actual temperature in the oven. So being off overnight, it's still at 88 degrees, it's already climbing. We're set for 525 degrees. 70% of the power is on the top, 60% on the bottom. So that's how precise these ovens are. You can put how much heat you want on top and how much heat you want on the bottom of it. One of the issues we had on Bainbridge Island with our deck oven was we would have lines, we'd have these pizza racks full of pizzas going in and out of this deck oven. Well, that oven is a little bit bigger than this one. We could fit 12 pizzas at a time. That was 6 in the top, 6 in the bottom. So you'd have to put them and spin them, and you have to get on our knees and spin them on the bottom, back and forth. To do true 6 takes a lot of talent, because you have to have somewhere to spin the pizza, right? You gotta have somewhere to put the pizza in at. We do all of our baguettes, we do our Roman and Palace styles, and like on Mother's Day, we're really in trouble. We even put some of our same day dough in there. And what it does, on the bottom, it's just got a little element with some water over it. So it steams the water, and that helps and also, you want to keep it under about 90 degrees. You don't want it really too hot, because that kills yeasts, even the naturally active ones. So it's just warm enough to make your breads rise evenly. Because once again, we talk about winters here. It's gonna be a lot different than Orlando and stuff, right? The same, it's gonna be different in California and even in Edmonds. So having a place where you know it's always the same temperature and that you have the right kind of humidity in there. It's important you have humidity. Dough dries out. A lot of ovens, this upper oven has a steam deck on it. And the whole idea behind a steam deck is when you're baking, there's something called the Maillard effect. So you immediately start working on a crust of a pizza. It gets hard on the outside. You induct steam into that in the first 20 seconds to a minute. That keeps it wet, it keeps it doughy, so it adds more oven spring to what you're doing. So you can make a bigger bread that way. So most bakeries actually have steam induction with what they do.
So that's infused into it?
Yeah, it's in the back here. So it's a special button when we're able to turn on the top, we can actually do the water. At the other restaurant, that's some pizza on Thursday, I'll show you the steam induction there.
Do you have to connect a certain hose to it?
Yeah, you have to connect water to it. You have to have a drain for it. Pizza Master ovens are really, really good. You guys, if you guys don't already have one, I'd recommend it over these guys. The Pizza Master is really good. But if you got what you got, you're fine with that too. But Pizza Master, their steam induction has a way of evaporating the water, so you don't even need a drain for it. And,
So does the dough, does that control humidity as well? Does it have humidity controller as well?
It's all the heat on the water and how much humidity you want. A lot of the times you will deal with the issues of these, of the power you need. So this can do two things. This can be a hot box to keep pizzas warm. A lot of people use that to take pizzas out.
That's one thing I use it for, is to-goes. Yeah.
And then also you can use it for the steam induction. The problem is you need more power when you're using both of those heats. So what I do, because I'm only using the steam part, is I take out all the power needed for the second heater in there. So that way I don't have to get an electrician in here. I can just take out those elements, switch it to one side, wire it that way, and just plug in a regular outlet to it, a regular 110, and plug it to the wall. So it's really helped me out a lot, because power can be a lot in these places. If you're using an electric oven, you're using electric coolers everywhere, right?
Oh yeah.
It's really, really important to get things right.
Paying off the national debt there.
Yeah, yes, you do,
Do
yeah.
you find it easier? I'm familiar with this oven specifically, and I know they set it to start at 7 in the morning. They're so by 9 o'clock.
That's too early. You don't need 2 hours.
I know. It might be 8. It might be 9 o'clock. I don't know exactly the time. I don't remember. But is that something that you do as well, or do you just wait till someone comes in?
I do, because I change daily when I open. So here on Friday, Saturday, Sundays, we open at noon. So Friday, you guys will see a whole different restaurant here than you will on these first few days. We don't open till 2:30 the rest of the time here. So it's too much of a variable, and it's too much just getting people trained. I don't like people fucking with my ovens, right? That's when they can just push knobs and stuff like that, and I give them the ability to do it. It's amazing how things get screwed up here, and the consistency gets screwed up. It is what it is, and work with what it is really what I try to do with it, because there's so many variables just in how you mix the damn dough, let alone how you bake the dough. If you keep things consistent that way, your life's much easier. I really love toast. Toast is amazing. Toast goes are out of control. So Toast is the point of sales program here that we use, our computers that we use for everything. That's probably one of the biggest changes in the restaurant industry has been using computers. Writing everything by hand. Yeah, KDS. Yeah.
I didn't have one, remember?
Kitchen display screens. So you see that right there, that's a kitchen display screen. So instead of having a paper ticket, it pops up there. So once it's done, you double click it and then it prints out. So instead of having a million paper tickets for no reason, just whatever's done or whatever's in the oven has tickets for it. Makes life a lot easier. Well, I tell you what though, my whole life of just printing tickets. So, that's just some pizza on a Friday night. We'll do 2 to 3 orders per minute with 2 to 3 pizzas per order. It's freaking insane. The print tickets would be twice as tall as me. Well, you can't get to it right away, so you gotta pull them off the printer, and you'd have 10 rip off on the back, fall behind, you wouldn't even see. So here I'm going through a night with 16-year-old kids trying to make 16-inch pizzas on these screens, never worked a day before, with customers. Where's my pizza? What's going on? What'd you do? Oh God, here's the 10 pizzas here, right? Absolute nightmare, because even you'd have to put them along the line and put a big line of them. And once you go through it, you have to put them out again. Now it's just on the stupid screen. It's so much easier.
Yeah,
it's
so it's moving across the screen, and then
exactly, but it doesn't really matter. It just starts to the left, works its way
so
to the right.
who's printing it out?
The person who makes it,
or
the person who made it.
okay.
Because how it works is once it's made in the oven, then they print it out.
Where do they land it when
They put it over here, so that's where it goes, but that's where the ticket is for it also. So they know exactly where to go for it, and then the staff member knows exactly what table to take it to. So it works out really, really well.
Our guy just pulls it. When he pulls it out, and when it comes out, when he finishes it, he prints it.
Yeah, for us it's just in the oven.
Okay.
Because that way we know prep times, right? Or where's my pizza at? Well, we know it's pumped off the bar, it's in the oven. It's going to be, depending on the style of pizza, 0 to 10 minutes.
Right.
And that's always great to tell. But I always tell people longer than what you expect. This shit always happens. Like when I do delivery, it could take me a half hour to get to someone's house. I'll say 45 minutes to an hour. Pickup, it can be done in 10 minutes. I say half hour, 45 minutes. Give yourself leeway. Be early. Because I tell you, you're 1 minute late and you ruin their day, you ruin their life, how dare you? Shit rolls downhill, right? If someone's had a really bad day and your pizza's late and they wanted this for their family, they're gonna vent on you and they're gonna vent on those 16-year-old kids and their managers and stuff like that. So any way you can bypass that. Oh, it's early, oh yay, thank you so much. And another big lesson is training your staff that no matter how bad a customer is, it could be worse. You could go home with them.
Yeah.
I did. You had a question?
I love that line.
Right?
For toast,
I mean, if something happens, you can always offer them a fountain drink while you're waiting. Calm down.
Exactly. You give it to them free or give them a coupon. If something's really bad, I give them it free and a coupon for next time. Because it turns from a bad mistake and them complaining to everyone to the best experience they've had in their life, and they're going to come back again.
So you can save the meal, even if you can't save the marriage.
Exactly. Yeah. You had a question about toast?
for toast or your online platform, does it give you an ETA, and can you add like an extra 5 or 10
Exactly.
minutes?
Yeah, you can
can,
adjust
yeah.
it on the fly.
So you can have it at 35 minutes. They've changed a lot because it was funny when we first got toast was before COVID, and we're using it for pizza. They said we don't do to-go businesses. We just do dining restaurants. Well, COVID hit, and guess what? Everyone is a takeout business. So they changed a lot of things and made it a lot more easier for to-go businesses. So it's definitely helped out a lot.
Toast will even, if somebody puts an order like 5 pies in right now, it will automatically adjust on its own.
Yeah.
You can set it to do it that way, that if I would order 5, then when you would go to order, it would push your time out.
So
Yeah, you
I
can
just
set how
always,
many it
that's you're overthinking the process. Say it's going to take long, and it's going to take longer. You say it's going to take longer. It's a lot of time, a lot of mistakes that can happen with the computer that who knows what the hell they're saying. Or my favorite one is they were having when you bump it, it would text them the customer saying your pizza's in the oven. The last thing you want is them, well, toast and it's ready. Well, fuck toast. We dropped your pizza. We got to make another one, right?
Yeah.
Give yourself that leeway. Don't be perfect on time. You know, you guys will work on big orders and stuff like that, big school orders. Always give yourself 20 minutes on that. There's always going to be a mistake. There's always going to be something wrong. The more time you give yourself, the better you have it. And then when you think about sourdough and pre-fermented dough, breads actually that are pre-fermented are better the next day. So pre-fermented doughs are the best for delivery and takeout because it's going to taste better the longer it sits. And like I like doing a big thick crust on mine, so it actually stays warmer longer. So if you give yourself more time, they actually get a better quality product from you also. It's not like Napolitano style pizza. You're cooking at 1,000 degrees, you put it on the oven, it's going to be cold in 5 minutes. It's going to be dead in 10 minutes. You can't deliver a Napolitano. That's what Idris was talking about earlier. How do you say they can take it out, right? Well, yeah, they can, but it's going to taste like shit because that's the pizza, right? You cook something so quick, it's going to cool off that quick. When you take more time with it and you love the process a little bit more, it will takes a little bit longer, and it's better when it takes longer like that. Cut yourself some slack.
Does your staff present the customer with the pizza?
Yes, always. Every single one. That's a big part of what we do, especially on takeouts, is they look over the pizza. And it's hard to train the staff. They're not just showing them. The staff themselves are checking the pizza to make sure it's the correct one. Because if you give the wrong pizza, you're giving away 2 wrong pizzas. Because that means it's someone else's pizza.
Right.
So there's always 2 mistakes involved.
Well, it
there.
also helps, I like what Omar was sharing with us when we went down there for an orientation with him. He said they present it to everyone, and that's when they offer to do the fresh Parmesan on it. And also, they know when it left their place, it was a perfect pizza.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if the customer's
Because the guy
unhappy,
stops,
you make it right now.
stops fast in
But-
the car, and boom, it's...
But there is one issue besides that we have a lot, is that person picking out the pizza 90% of the time is not the person that ordered the pizza. So they say, oh yeah, that looks great, good job, let's go.
The wife ordered
Right.
it.
Yeah, he was at work and the wife ordered
Exactly,
it.
yeah. These Rotoflex ovens, it's in one door, out the other. So it really helps out with the production. On top of that, it's a spinning shelf. This spinning shelf rotates the pizzas for you. So you don't have to rotate the pizzas.
And you control that speed, or is it everything?
No, if it's a speed is something that's not a variable in there.
Okay.
You control the temperature for the speed. Sorry, for the oven. You see we have 2 digital thermostats here. This is a gas oven. It was very different, like I said, the other oven was really, really hot, my hot restaurant. To actually having a hooded oven like this really changed the whole feel of my restaurant. We did it on January 1st. That was the coldest January of my life. We went from having these ovens that had no doors heating up our building to everyone wearing like 2 or 3 jackets, having space heaters everywhere. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, so when we have a make line, we have a setup, the flow of your restaurant is really, really important. I talked about earlier about making things as easy as possible on my staff. You'll notice that in every one of my restaurants has these cheat sheets on the make lines here. Your job is for your employees to know what they're doing, but their job is also make sure every time it can be the same. So we have it by different sauces. We have it for different cheese weights that we have here. It's not here right now, but you need to weigh your cheese. Tomorrow,
Right
Baccio.
there, right above your nose.
Yeah, Baccio will be out here to talk about the importance of weighing your cheese. The one topping that everyone uses in every restaurant, the most expensive thing you have, is your pizza cheese. Most people don't realize this. Cheese is a commodity.
Right, yeah.
It's traded. The price varies week by week. Actually, month by month is usually how it goes. So it's going to be different every time. So once again, for consistency, you can see we use 12 ounces of cheese on the Detroit with the Detroit mix. It goes here. We use 11 ounces of the mozzarella on Sicilians, and then we use the 7 ounces of mozzarella on our New York style. So once again, make it easy as possible for people to be successful. There's no, oh gosh, do I know how to do this, not know how to do this. You don't need to remember how to do it. It's right there in front of you to make things easier for you.
So do you weigh every cheese before you put it on?
Yep, every cheese before we put on pizza is weighed here, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember them saying that at the convention.
Yeah, and then we used to use cups, but people can smash cheese in cups. Because we used to take those old red Coke cups and cut them down to what we thought was perfect size, but people still smash it in there and put it on. And And people don't realize, and I've kind of gotten mad at Baccio about this, the whole sales pitch behind Baccio is you don't need as much cheese. A good pizza is a balance. It's the dough is not the canvas. It's one of the ingredients of what you're doing. So if you have too much dough, too much cheese, too much sauce, when I'm talking about cheese, I have too much cheese, and people see these big cheese pulls. You see that on New York style pizza, that's gonna be a shitty New York style pizza. That's not how much cheese you want on it. That's the casserole Chicago styles, right? That has a lot of cheese on purpose. Detroit style has a lot of cheese on purpose. You don't want to put too much toppings on any one thing. I only use 7 ounces for a 16-inch pizza. I could do that because I use such high quality cheese. A lot of other cheeses you have to use more amounts just to get that same even spread on it.
What cheese are you using?
Baccio is what I use. I use their whole milk mozzarella. And I use artisanal bread through Performance Food Group for my, it's artisanal bread is the name of it. Food companies are all about the SKUs you have. It's all about the numbers and it's in the system. So I had found this cheese they had made 10 years ago for a place in Texas that had a special blend of mozzarella, Wisconsin brick, and H white cheddar cheese. They had a SKU for it already. They hadn't been made it in 10 years. But because they had a SKU for it, I was able to order it and they were able to make the mix for me for it. And they do it in ribbons instead of like, this one I use diced. Sometimes I'll use shred, but they use big ribbons so it actually holds up better along the edges of the pan also. So
I love like grinding your own cheese.
Not now, but I will be very, very soon. And probably not the artisanal blend because that's a lot of different
It's
mixes.
a grande that's, and we shred our own, and it's 2 whole 1 skim. What's your opinion on grande?
It's whatever you like. It's whatever you really appreciate what you're doing there. I mean, it took a lot to get me from Baccio from the Pea and Cone brand they have. Pea and Grown is Performance Food Group, just run-of-the-mill cheese. I love it. I think it's great on New York pizza. New York pizza isn't supposed to be something fancy. It's supposed to be a quick slice you can grab, you can fold it in half and go with. I love Pea and Cone cheese with it. Being a slice house here, we also have a humidified slice warmer over here. East Coast guys usually don't like this. They don't like the idea. East Coast guys like reheating all their slices. When I've got Mother's Day, we had 2 lines down across the street from either door here with the first minute the whole dining room filling up. So we had this whole inside full, probably 30 people here. We had the dining room 70 people fill up and a line down here. This slice warmer saved our lives here because we had it. This is steam, there's water built to it. I really love Hatfield products. They're really, really amazing. They do these steam cases. So what you can do, 230. So these steam cases, what they do is they keep it fresh, they keep it hot. Once again, we talk about sourdough. The older it is, the actual better it is. So I don't have to reheat the pizza in the oven every time. It keeps it at 170 degrees and 10% humidity. The issue you have when there's no humidity in your slice warmers, it dries it out really, really bad. So by adding that humidity, keeps it wet, keeps it moist over there also.
Now, are you putting right on the screen in there?
We'll usually do the perfect crust liners.
Okay.
And you'll notice you're coming to liners and that kind of stuff. These are the most awkward things you'll ever see at a restaurant in your life, but they're the most important things you'll see. Look how bumpy, look how fucking awkward that is.
Oh, wow.
You tried cutting a pizza on that? I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, what is wrong with me? What are people doing with these things? But once again, it comes to the science, even my to-go boxes. They have these bridges in them. So what the whole idea of these perfect crust liners are, is their sales term is stop the flop. So what happens when you're baking something at 500 degrees, you're evaporating all the moisture. There's still going to be moisture in it afterwards, right? So what you're doing by giving space for the air and the heat to evaporate underneath, you're making it so you can keep a crispy crust. So if you want to go to a good pizza, you know you're eating a good pizza if you go to a restaurant that has these. Because they've cared about how it sits in the tray and how that it can evaporate.
So that's how you serve it to the customer?
Yep, just on these guys. Remember I saw it the first time at John Marino's restaurant, I'm like, what is this thing? And as a customer, I didn't realize it, but really knowing and learning the science behind it, going, wow, what a difference this makes on my crust.
So you don't cut on that, right?
No, we don't cut on that. We have
Slide it
we slide it on after the cut. Yeah, exactly. And then we load them on here, and then we put them in that slice roller over there. Is how we load them.
Right.
Yeah, it's awkward, but it's really, really important. to
So,
have that.
one size, 16.
So I do things a little bit different here than most restaurants. That's a Some Pizza we've had since 1984. We always did build your owns. We used to do half and halves. We used to do 2 for 2 specials. We always have our specialties. As I became more of an expert in what I was doing, I realized there was no way, once again, that 16-year-old kid could make a half house and a half barbecue chicken with barbecue sauce on the house side and red sauce on the barbecue chicken side and be successful and be efficient, right? So I said, no more half and halves. That's it. You get what you get. Then when I opened up this restaurant, I said, you know what? You don't even get to pick sizes. You're either going to pick New York, Detroit, Sicilian, Palo Romana, or gluten-free, and then what's the last one there? Sicilian, Detroit, New York, Palo Romana, and artisanal is the last one there. They each come in their own sizes. You mind handing over that menu real quick, Hunter? So you'll see with these menus, I have Italian-style pizzas, and I have American-style pizzas. Don't be confused by Sicilian, I just have it over there for fun. But the idea is, this is what you get. This is what we make. We are the experts in what we do. I'm the expert in what I do. So this is how you get it. You can omit toppings if you want. So you can make a pineapple jalapeno pizza by picking the spicy Italian and taking off the bacon and the Canadian bacon and the pepperoni. But you can't build up to that because I'm the expert. You can't do half and halves because I'm the expert. Does 2 things. One, it makes it efficient for my staff. It's always the same 9 pizzas, right? And they can get. I have 2 people will work that line. 2 people on this side. We did $16,000 on Saturday with 4 people working this oven for 8 hours. It was insane, but they were able to do it because we made sure they could be successful.
So you're using something just for your slices?
No, this is for the back dining walls.
Oh,
This is
okay.
3/4 of my business
big
goes
idea.
through here,
Okay.
and then probably 1/4 goes to the back.
Okay, that
We
makes
do our
sense.
sandwiches
Right.
back there also.
So is there times when you just don't turn on that oven? You're just working out of here?
But no, we always have all ovens out, absolutely, because that was our appetizers, our sandwiches, and things like that. Yeah. When we're low on staff, like the staff walk out, we can set up this make line over here, our pasta line. We can use that for salads and appetizers also. So we don't have to have an extra employee in the back. We just send everything from this side of the kitchen also. Luckily, we haven't gotten to that point yet. What we'll do is I'll just shut down the Italian-style pizzas. So we'll still do the salads. We just won't do sandwiches and Italian-style pizzas. So it makes it a lot easier. But you have to adapt. You have to adjust. It's fun though. But being the expert, right? Tell this is just how we do it. The way we're going to do it. We only do this size. We don't do half and half. The second thing it does, besides make us the expert and make it easier on my staff, makes people have to order more pizza. So if you look at these different styles of pizza, the Romana feeds 3 to 4 people. Artisanal serves 2 people. The New York style 3 to 4, Detroit 3 to 4, Sicilian 4 to 6, gluten-free 3 to 4. All have tables of 4 people in that. Each one of them will order New York style, a Roman style, Sicilian style, Detroit style.
Sure.
But they've 4 people that have bought enough pizza for 20 people.
Sure.
Because they want to try everything different, so it ups the prices, right? They still spend $80 for enough food for 40 people. So it's still a good deal. It's sourdough. It actually tastes better the next day after it's baked than their houses do.
I was resistant to that, and he told me that exact same thing when he started training me when I moved up here, and I was like, dude, people are gonna be pissed off about this, man. In 2.5 years, I'm not kidding. In 2.5 years, there's been 2 people that complained to me about it.
Yeah, we only did
And
16.
honestly, those 2 people, I think, have that experience at a lot of restaurants they go to. No matter what's going on there, I think that's the experience that they
As
bring.
restaurant owners,
Yeah.
you're always trying to do what's best for your restaurant. It's really easy to be taken aside by someone that tells you they know your business better than you.
Right.
And you need to do things this way. Like my whole life has been like that, right? I was the lowly pizza guy. I didn't have confidence what I did. I changed what I do for the 5 people that complained. Who you weren't listening to, or you listened to those 5 people, You weren't listening to 200 people that don't say a fucking thing, but they come every day and buy your pizza.
So they're coming
Because
because
they
you're
like-
efficient, you get it out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like you
So
said,
you listen to
your
the people that
timeline.
don't say anything, not the ones, the loudmouths. I remember the big one here was, open for lunch, open for lunch, open for lunch. Open for lunch, the people never showed up, right? It was ridiculous. Do it this way, do it this way. They never showed up. That phone makes the weirdest noises.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a noise it could make. But it does, yeah. It really is.
So no build your own, no half.
No build your owns, no half and halves.
But when people ask me for that too, there are people that ask like, why can't I can't just build my own pizza? And I say, look, here's the thing. We would make specific craft pizza here. We're experts at what we do, and we want to keep our promises. And we promise to make you these pizzas here. We'll remove things off them if that's what you want. We have a dairy-free option and a gluten-free option. But aside from that, we want to keep the promise we make to you, and we do the best we can to do that. And this is what we do. And we're never going to be a fit for everybody. Hopefully something here is a fit for you. And I just leave it at that, man. It's true, it's clean, it's concise. And you know what? It's the truth. There are going to be people that want to go to Little Caesars, man. Like I'm not their restaurant. I'm not, you know. And
You guys all remember Seinfeld?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember the soup Nazi?
Yeah. You know what's
He was on to something.
What's so interesting about this is that this is exactly what Coast to Coast does. We
It's
do a
almost like I
16 inch.
consulted with him or something.
What? I don't know. It makes me wonder if they talked to you before they actually did this. So I know we had in class, but I mean, this is exactly what they're doing to
That's
a
what
T.
Omar's line is.
Yeah.
That our pizza's
It's the
not for
16
you
inch, the
because,
Detroit, the Sicilian.
I'm not the Marcos. You know, I'm not
They
the
do the halves,
Domino's.
but that's about it. They won't let them go any further.
I was raised as a as an apprentice chef, right? Through the old school ways to become a real chef. Not in schools in my 30s for 2 years. I was raised in it. And a big part of being a chef, to be the guy you need to be the guy. You need to act.
Yeah.
People respect you when you respect yourself. Wearing these uniforms, having every single team member have a company shirt, having them wear an apron, they respect themselves. People see that. People feed off that. If you're wearing a t-shirt and some random hat and not washing your hands and just being filthy as crap, they're going to look at you and they're going to think of you like that. And the more professional you make yourself, the more professional you sound, the more they're going to respect you for that. They're going to appreciate that. So much of what we do is psychology. It's kind of nuts. So Bainbridge Island, where that's some pizza's been for 40 years, I used to open a restaurant there I named after my wife called Penelope's. It was casual, affordable Italian dining. I was the best Italian food in the Kitsap Peninsula, if not the state, from when I was doing it. Because the way I was trained and what I did and how I did things there. But because I made it affordable, people thought it was cheap. Because they thought it was cheap, they thought I was cheap, and they thought there was better places around. Because I wanted to make it affordable for my family and friends and for my community. Because Bainbridge Island is a very affluent community. What I didn't realize that $60,000 I made the first month in 2018, I could have made $120,000 the first month if I double charged that, and I would have been able to stay open longer because I had an issue. But that's some pizza was failing without me, so I sold Penelope's and went back there. But realizing, having all the customers come to me and say, I wish you wouldn't have sold. I would have paid double the amount of money just to have your food, to have your ambiance, to have your professionalism there. Would have changed my life, right? So people want to spend more. Everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Kelly, one of our kitchen leads here, the backbone of our kitchen, and pretty awesome guy.
So essentially the whole pricing here is for the experience.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And this is low price, so I should be charging more for this. Absolutely. But for my area, I'm the most expensive pizza here.
Yeah.
When I open a restaurant, I do all the competition, and I go up by $2. Once again, it's psychology. People think if you pay more, it's going to be better. It could be half the product as someone else's, but because they pay more, they're getting a better product. How it's perceived, how you're perceived, all right? And that's, in this day and age where food prices are going through the roof, you need to be constantly expanding how much you're raising your prices and how much you cost.
Plus, there's a lot that goes into how much work you're putting into making that
5-day dough.
Yes,
It's
I
a
mean,
lot to
the
it.
ingredients are fresh. All of those things, it matters. It's not the same as what you're getting from another chain restaurant.
Exactly. Barbecue for Detroit style.
Okay.
So are you putting the cheese on the side on your par bake?
No.
No, you're doing it as. Oh, it's good too.
So this is risen overnight. So we make the dough, we let it sit for a day. The next day we push it out, we let it sit overnight. That's 2 days. Then we bake it off that following day, that's 3 days. And so we don't use it until the 4th day. And sometimes the dough can sit 2 to 3 days. So this is a 5 to 7 day dough. So we run out of pizza, we're out of pizza. Morning, Wesley. How's it going? Good, how you doing, buddy?
Room temp or you refrigerate them?
I room temp rise for 12 hours, and then I refrigerate after the fact. But it can stay out for a few days too, if you run out of refrigeration like we do here in Austin. So these Detroits are made with our pan dough. It's the same dough we use for Sicilian pans. The only difference is the size of the pan and the amount of dough we use in them. With the par baking, besides that, a Sicilian pizza is done like a grandma pie or a New York pie, where the sauce first, the cheese and toppings over it. As opposed to a Detroit pizza, it's the cheese and toppings, and then the sauce hot afterwards, depending if it's red sauce or not. If I do barbecue sauce, if I'm doing pesto sauce, I'm doing a gorgonzola dressing as a sauce, I bake that with it over the cheese.
So your Detroit ounces for a dough ball, is it the same as your New Yorker?
No, absolutely not.
And your Sicilian obviously is going to be more.
Well, actually, I guess we're 30 for the Sicilian.
Okay.
Right now we're at 20 on the Detroit, and we're at 22 for the New York.
Okay.
And then we're at 20 for the Roman and Palas also. Then
So they're
artisans,
fairly
we're doing
close,
10 ounce.
On a 16-inch pizza, you're 20 ounces?
22 ounce.
We're a 20 ounce. We're a 20 ounce dough ball.
So, because I'm going for, I really want a nice big crust on mine. I want a nice loaf of French bread around the edges. Right. New York style typically has a little bit smaller, but I like my sourdough big, and I like dipping my crust.
So
right?
based on your process that you said, let's just say that this was for it. So now you're telling your team, hey guys, we have 10 of these for today, because obviously to keep up with the aging that you're doing.
Well, no, it's
or whatever. it
This is
fine.
full, and that's full over there. That's what we've got into.
But you
because-
won't let them sell that all out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, because tomorrow you wouldn't be able to have it because of the amount.
Because we're making off site now, because we're so busy here. They don't even have time. We're doing $3,000 to $4,000 an hour here. They don't have time to push out the dough here. So I've taken it to my other restaurant, and they push out and clean the pans there. So I actually this week I'm starting. I
That's
bought
the
a
roller
trailer.
cart.
Yeah, we got different carts we're going to use for it. So they're going to be rolling the dough, the par baked dough, on and off this trailer. So every day they'll get a delivery all the dough here. So that gives us more prep time, more time to work on the customers, work on doing different salads, doing a beet salad, doing different
So they're like your
desserts.
canteen that services your own place.
Commissary kitchen is the term for it. Absolutely, yeah.
Do you use different like oils?
Yes.
From Sicilian to like grandma's?
I use in my pan dough, I use extra virgin olive oil. In my New York dough, I use canola oil. And my New York dough is a lot more of that sourdough flavor. I want to keep that flavor. Extra virgin olive oil really dilutes the flavor of a bread. You can taste one with it and without it. Canola oil is more of a neutral oil. So that's why I like using, because my sourdough, and that's another part of the deal. We talked about 4 to 5 days on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not including the 2 days of pre-ferment that I'm doing my sourdough at. So the reality is, it's anywhere from 6 to 8 days to make our dough here. And that's just the process, because when you get 2 things when you do a sourdough, you get acid and you get carbon dioxide, not monoxide, dioxide. The dioxide raises it, and the acid gives the sour flavor. Well, I can't be Sourdough Willy serving sourdough pizza and have it not taste sour. So I ferment mine for 2 days to really bring a lot of the acetic acid out for the flavor profile that people to have.
Maybe you could smell it from the pan already.
Right? Isn't that amazing? So on the pan dough, I use olive oil. On the other one, I use canola oil. But either way, and also with the wetter of the dough, it gets, it's washed out a little bit more. And also fermentation is quicker with wet. Heat and water and time affect sourdough. Right. So because it's so much time in the pan, so much time bulk fermenting, I use half as much sourdough starter in my pan dough as I use my New York dough. Because it's going to ferment faster, and then it's going to eat through all those simple sugars too quickly. Then you have a pale white dough that doesn't brown up.
So after you part bake these, do you just never refrigerate them after? Or?
No, refrigerate them, absolutely. This is the same pizza line we have at other locations.
So is everything on the screen, or are you printing out tickets here?
Wait, and I'll tell you.
Hold on.
close, but that's our dispatch screen is what that is. So everything comes through here, starts to the left, works its way to the right, just like at the other restaurant. We found a smaller fridge, exact same design we were able to put here, because pretty soon we're going to be adding Detroit and Sicilian style pizzas here. So I needed to give them more room for their sauce, more room for their cheese, and everything in here. So it's a one door one, it works perfect for everything. So how we have this station is 1 to 2 people will open up the dough, and we'll have one person saucing the cheese in the dough. And we'll slide it down to 1 or 2 people who are topping the pizzas. And one person will walk down the line, make the pizza, they put it in the oven. They put in a full order, then they double click the full order. Since it's double clicked, it's printed out over there, and they put the ticket on the other side. Exactly. So what happens then is whatever's ticket is printed is what's actually in the oven. So it's made it really, really easy.
Just a question on that, like on your logistics. So I'm over here, I'm working this, but your timers are over there. So
Because
they're calling out like, so I'm over here, and I have a ticket for 6 pizzas. What do you call out to me when?
Well, because there's so many pizzas to look at, right?
Right. So how does that information translate?
Let's say it's 7 minutes. There's 1 pizza's ready.
Okay, so you just like, there's a pizza ready. Right?
Well, they'll just know the timer that one of the pizzas in the oven is ready.
Right. So that's just to tell you that there's a pizza ready, and then my job is to like, I'm working the oven. I mean, I should know which damn pizza's ready, right?
It's been a struggle because we had it when we first did it. People, they put chicken wings on the bottom. They did gluten-free on top. They'd only use the 2 middle ones. They do overlap because there's no control of how they're doing it. They're training themselves how to do it. It was a fucking nightmare. So, one of the biggest things I do is I work on. You use all 4 shelves, and then you fill up 1 shelf, and then you hit a 1-minute timer. Then you do the next shelf, a 1-minute timer, next shelf. Because the idea is if you go from the top to bottom, by the time you're done loading the bottom, the top one should be done. And beyond that, if you put in, it's one thing I'm trying to get people away from. Mia's been kind of backwards on it a little bit. She'll wait to put the whole order in at once. That's great in theory, but the reality is everything goes in at once, comes out at once, and that's unattainable. Then you do 4 shelves. So we're talking about, in our old deck oven, we could do, so there's something also that happens that the minute helps with too. It helps bring stones up the temperature. With any pizza oven, these newer electric ones are a lot better with the recovery speed. When you put something cold on something hot, it's going to absorb all the heat from it, right? So that's going to be a cold spot. So our old deck ovens, we could do 12 pizzas, that was 2 stacked on top of each other. In 15 minutes, we could do 12 pizzas because it would take that long. It would cool off the oven so much it would take that long to cook them. With this oven, we're able to do 24 pizzas in 7 minutes. You don't want to. Because who the fuck's gonna take out that many pizzas at once? It's a nightmare. These kids would flip out. And the make line, they don't know, they're just throwing them in. Yeah, let's go. Well, these poor kids try to take it out. There's no stop. It's just constant pizza. So it's been a big fight, and Peter's been great on helping me with the fact that we give them the 1-minute time. So they have 1 minute in between 6 to 7, sometimes 6 to 8 pizzas to clear off the shelf. That 1 minute is all the difference in the world to make something overwhelming, not overwhelming to